Your belief attracts the power of God. So then we understand there are conditions. And we don't always talk about this. God loves the world. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. But here's the challenge. You only receive salvation if you what? Believe. So belief is the condition of salvation. He died for everybody. But for you to experience it in your personal life, in your personal space, you must believe. When we look at the conditions in the Bible, we look always at Deuteronomy 28. If you fully obey the Lord your God, you'll be blessed in the city, blessed in the store. All the works of your hand will be blessed. You are the head and not the tail, above and not beneath. The conditions in the Old Testament was meeting the law. But the conditions in the New Testament are that of faith. Romans 10:9. If you openly declare that Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised him from the dead, then you will be saved. Mark 9:23, Jesus said, this is the Father coming to Jesus, and his son is dealing with a demon. And he speaks to the man and he says, listen, if you can believe, all things are possible to him. So your belief has to be more than a seat on a Sunday. Belief is a choice that every day when I walk out of church, real belief kicks in. It doesn't take much faith to put on a jacket, some pants, and some shoes, start your car, and drive down 465 and show up in a seat. But it takes faith and belief to show up Christ-like on Monday morning in the middle of all the people that you got to deal with. And we get to the story. Jesus is ministering with the disciples, and he gets word that in Bethany, Lazarus is sick. It's like Martha, Mary, Lazarus, he loves them, and he gets the words that he is very sick. And Jesus immediately says, this sickness is not unto death, but it is to reveal the glory of God. So he already says, this is the will of God this is the word concerning this situation, that yep, the enemy attacked Lazarus with sickness, but I'm going to intervene. I'm going to step in. I'm going to change even the natural order of things, and I'm going to heal him. He is not going to die for real. And so you look at this, and he knows that he's sick, and he gets word, and it says that he stays 2 more days. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm like, if you love me, Jesus, can you show up a little early? Since you love me, why am I even going through this, Jesus? You are God personified. But it says that he decided to stay 2 more days. Now, the significance of him staying 2 more days is this. The Sadducees had a belief that the spirit stays in the body 3 days. So that if Jesus came on day 2, the Sadducees would have been able to say, yeah, that's just a trick. The spirit was still in his body. So he's not really raising him from the dead. He's just like, his spirit was still there. He just woke him up. Jesus didn't come when they wanted him to because he loved them, not in the absence of love. Oh, I need to tell somebody this right now. Because you've questioned if God loves you because you're still in the same situation. You're questioning if God loves you because you're walking through the darkest night of your soul. And I want to tell you today that God sometimes shows his love by waiting, so that when he shows up, he's going to get the glory. That when he comes through, they'll know, no, it wasn't just the doctor. It wasn't just a cute idea. I am the only one that can deliver when someone's been dead 4 days. And so he waited. And I thought, Man, have you ever felt abandoned? Have you ever felt like your prayers aren't getting higher than the ceiling? You're believing God, you're trusting God to the best of your ability, but nothing is taking place. And I want to tell you this, that the darkest nights precede the greatest lights. That the darkest nights, Tozer calls it the dark night of the soul. That these dark nights are actually God's setup to do something significant. James 1 tells us, hey, count it all joy. I don't know what James was drinking when he wrote that, but he said, count it all joy. That when you fall into diverse temptations, challenges, and trials, that the testing of your faith, it's working for you. It's building you up. It's strengthening you. And I got to tell you this. I would have never known God was a provider had I not been broke. I would have never known God was a healer had I not been sick. I would have never known that God could restore had he not restored broken relationships. That God will allow our dark days, our dark moments. Why? Because he doesn't want us to just get our faith from reading a book. He wants you to know that you know. That's what my grandmother used to say. She said, I know that I know that I know God is coming through. She said, I've gone through too much with him. I've experienced too much with him. He's always been faithful, and he's not going to stop right now. So there are moments like this one where God is actually showing me a different side of his glory through my difficulties. And then we get to verse 21, and he's talking to Martha, and Martha's like, Jesus, Lord, if you'd have been here, my brother would not have died. But now I know that God will give you whatever you ask. And I thought about, to Martha, Jesus was late. But to Jesus, he was right on time. She, from her perspective, was like, if you'd have come in 2 days, my brother wouldn't have died. And Jesus is like, no, with me waiting 4 days, oh, your faith is about to be on 10 with what you're about to see me do. And so she looks and says Jesus was late. Jesus looks and says, I'm right on time. What Jesus wants us to know is I'm sovereign. Time doesn't run me. I run time. Whenever I show up, it's on time. When is my husband coming for some of you? On time. When is my body going to be healed? On time. When is my child going to be saved? On time. Why? Because God's timing is always perfect. So he says, Martha, I'm not late. I'm right on time because you're about to see the glory of God.